Thank you for waiting. We will now have the closing remarks. The speaker is General Partner at Incubate Fund, Special Advisor of JVCA, Mr. Tohru Akaura. Mr. Akaura, please. Good afternoon, and thank you for the introduction. This is Akaura. MOMENT2023. It's a wonderful conference. That's my impression. So I've been joining since this morning, listening to the talks. So the lost 3 decades, how are we going to overcome that? And what direction are we going? What should we do toward the next era? I think that was discussed, and we had entrepreneurs, venture capital, government. Everyone is working seriously to solve the various issues and moving forward. That's what I learned today. And we have one of the most prominent venture capitals, or many of the prominent venture capitals of the world. And with their help, we were able to organize this great conference. And so I want to thank World Innovation Lab, WIL, and the METI, Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry. I want to thank them both for organizing this wonderful event. So I'm with the Japan Venture Capital Association. I've been active in that association for many years. At the JVCA, we're saying 2027 startup market cap, including listed and unlisted, should be 100 trillion yen. That's the target or the goal that we have at the JVCA. So I joined JAFCO Venture Capital out of university in 1991. At that time, Japanese venture capital was 100% GP by stock companies. So 100% of GP were stock companies. So it was not unlimited loss. But of course, in the US, it's partnership by individuals that was acting as the GP. So there was a big difference. But looking back, we had the will and the partnerships. So venture capital firms where they act as GPs. We see several dozens of them now. So, and the funding is increasing, and talented people coming into the venture capital industry in large numbers. So venture capital presence is rising in Japan, and venture capital is going to lead the regeneration of Japan. I think that's the era that we are going to see. I see a bright future for Japan. I personally think so. Now we're in an era of change. Now, if you look at the 30-year scale, past 30 years, it's been the last 3 decades. So 1989, 99, that was the peak. And since then, people say it's the last 3 decades. But I think the essence is we lost with IT. GAFA, just those 4 companies, they have a more market cap than all of Tokyo Stock Exchange listed companies together. But the 30 years before that, 1960 to 1990, in those 30 years, in automotives, electronics, Sony, Toyota, Matsushita, Honda, those countries or companies led the world. And if you look at the top 50, 32 companies, top 50 market cap, 32 were Japanese. 7 out of the top 10 were Japanese companies then. So it was the age of Japan as number 1. And so there was the Keiretsu and Kaizen. So companies around the world were learning from Japan and Japanese management. Now we only have 1 in top 100. But going forward, I think we're shifting from era of hardware to software. And I think we're going to go back to the era of hardware. That's my view. So we are at a time of change, a major change that happens once every 30 years. So from hardware to software, I think we're going back to hardware. And if that is so, I think this is a big opportunity. For example, semiconductors. We had number one share in the world. Now, in terms of semiconductor materials and manufacturing equipment, we have many areas where Japanese companies still has a top share in the world. And METI is leading the effort in Kumamoto and Chitose to build up semiconductor manufacturing centers. And it's a big development going on in Kumamoto, as I read in the newspapers. A lot of activity there. So hardware infrastructure is changing, and the time that it changes is the time of great innovation. So from optical fiber to communications, rather satellite communication, I think we're seeing that shift, and there's going to be a lot of focus on Starlink. And this is going to be a major opportunity of change. We have this high quality manufacturing infrastructure in Japan, and we can lead that change, I believe. And next, the depopulation in Japan and aging in Japan with less children and with more women, we're number 125th in terms of women participation in the workforce. I believe this is an opportunity for Japan. Now, retiring at 60, I think we should first do away with that. 60 years old, you're still very active, and you have a lot of experience and network of relationships, and I think they're the strongest human resource. And in the past, the Japanese engineers with technology went to China, and they transferred technology to China. With that, China became the world's factory. Now, I think we should have that flow toward the Japanese domestic startups. For example, in the area of space, we have Incubate Fund. I'm in charge of 8 companies, 8 startups in the space area. iSpace, for example, trying to land on the moon. And Asai directors, we have Mr. Kawana, president of former JGC, and IHI Aerospace, Makino-san, former president, is also advising. And Mitsubishi Electric, JAXA, Mitsubishi Heavy, IHI, from these companies, we have capable people joining the company, and they're very active there. And the chief sales officer, CSO, is from Mitsubishi Corporation, after retiring, 60, and leading the company as top management. And in various other companies, we see people from IHI, NEC, various people coming to startups and really making a mark. And within the team, you go to drink, and they would lead and liven up the party. So that's the leadership that they have. 1989, Japan as number 1. I wonder if you remember that time there was a commercial. Can you work 24 hours? Was the pitch. So Japanese businessman was the keyword at that time. And so these were the corporate warriors who flew around the world, I think mainly trading companies. And so I think that the visual represented those trading company people. And so those people who led the Japan as number 1, Japanese business people who had experience, maximum fighting power with all the connections. Let's take those kinds of people to the startups. We can do that. That was a little difficult in IT, but the Japanese business person who led the world can go to startups and lead those companies. I think we're going to see that kind of an era emerge. Also, Japanese government, they are placing startups in the core of their major policies. At the JVCA, government public procurement startup quota is what we are requesting to METI and to the government, that there should be priority given to the startups, and we've been lobbying since 2021. And so we really have to, well, we're really making an effort. And SBIR, so METI and Ministry of Education, MLIT, all these ministries starting to move. So the government of Japan is determined to expand the Japanese economy and leading the effort. And the U.S. ecosystem, which is world leading, the government is supporting us forge relationship with that the U.S. ecosystem. Like this conference today, the Japanese businessmen, world's most fearsome businessmen, in order to raise their presence in the global market, we should enter the global markets. So Japan in the world, we have little resources, and so we import and process and export, and we earned foreign currency, and that's how we became number 2 in GDP. So next, Sony, Matsushita, Toyota, Honda, or GAFA, that should be created in Japan. So entrepreneurs, venture capital, and large companies, government, we all need to collaborate here in Japan so that we can earn foreign currency. And with that, I would like to close my comments. Thank you very much.